Last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement.
For years, Molly Qerim was the steady presence at the helm of First Take, steering chaotic debates and keeping egos in check while big personalities clashed around her. But behind the smiles and smooth transitions, she now hints at a very different reality. One where trust was broken, alliances were shifting, and Stephen A. Smith wasn't the supportive colleague many viewers assumed.
Molly is a friend. Molly is a co-worker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years. And
now she has finally broken her silence, and what she has to say about Stephen A. Smith could flip ESPN's polished image on its head. Was Molly's exit from ESPN really clean? Or are we talking full-on soap opera drama? Because the way this story has been buzzing online, it's starting to feel like the latter. Insiders have long whispered about power struggles at ESPN, but Molly's revelations give those rumors teeth. She suggests Smith wasn't just chasing ratings, he was quietly maneuvering, pulling strings that left her blindsided. And while executives packaged her departure as business as usual, her version of events paints it as anything but routine. Her words cut deep, not only exposing cracks in ESPN's inner circle, but also raising uncomfortable questions about how far ambition can go before it crosses into betrayal. Even Stephen spoke about Molly's sudden departure from ESPN, and by the sound of it, he didn't see it coming. On his SiriusXM show Tuesday, Smith confirmed that his longtime First Take co-host had abruptly resigned on Monday night after more than a decade on air together. ESPN, he said, had been deep in contract talks with Molly and had no intention of letting her go. But despite that, she decided to walk away effective immediately. Smith didn't sugarcoat how the news hit him. To say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement, he admitted. He described Molly not just as a colleague, but as a trusted friend and partner, someone he leaned on just as much as she leaned on him during their 10 years hosting together. Still, Smith made it clear he wasn't going to spill every detail. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business, he said, adding that he didn't even know the full story himself. All he could confirm was that contract negotiations were underway. ESPN didn't want to lose her, and then just like that, she was gone.
A lot of times, some of these things happen, and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business.
Smith even read Molly's own Instagram post confirming the exit, admitting her decision completely blindsided him. He further said, "To be blunt, it came as a shock. I was not aware that this was something she was contemplating doing, but in the end, she made her decision, and we have to move on as a show." Smith said, "I don't like it. I'm not happy about it because I appreciate her and what she has meant to me, the show and the business. And I'm going to miss her. It's just that simple. But we all make decisions that we deem to be in our best interest for whatever reason. And that story is for her to tell. Do I have an idea? Of course I do. Am I going to share it with you? No, because again, that's her story to tell." But then the bombshell dropped, and the storm Stephen was trying to hide with his sweet words finally broke. It wasn't Molly or ESPN who lit the match. The first big accusation came from a surprising corner, someone claiming to be Stephen A. Smith's ex-girlfriend. That's when the whispers turned into a wildfire. The so-called whistleblower didn't just poke holes in ESPN's image, she lit the whole place up. Her accusations were so out there, people couldn't decide whether to laugh or grab the popcorn. She allegedly accused Molly of being out to get Smith. According to her, Molly wasn't just unhappy, she was deliberately trying to ruin him. She said Molly leaked details about his contract, talked with rival networks behind his back, and even tried to stir up an H scandal that could have destroyed his career. The motive, she claimed, was simple: jealousy, revenge, and a craving for the spotlight.
Yesterday when we talked, we knew that she was leaving, but we didn't know she was leaving like immediately, which is an indication that, man, this thing's a bit more complicated than just they couldn't settle on the money. It just seems more serious. She's off the show now.
Clips started circulating of Molly and Stephen snapping at each other, bickering over guest picks, throwing sly shade about paychecks, fighting for airtime like the cameras weren't even rolling. Steven himself fanned the flames. On air, he bragged about fighting to secure big money deals, for colleagues Shannon Sharp included, before dropping a cold line. "No, I'm not coming into work tomorrow." Fans instantly started decoding it as a dig aimed squarely at Molly. The back and forth only got messier. Molly once joked that Steven practically monitored her every move, bathroom trips included. His sharp comeback wasn't the kind of laugh-it-off retort viewers expected. It had bite, the kind that made audiences wonder if the feud had burst out of the green room and straight into their living rooms. From there, the internet did what the internet does best. Spiraled. Every glare, every sarcastic quip, every tense body language clip was dissected like a Zapruder film. And according to insiders, it all came to a head in Connecticut just weeks before Molly's mysterious exit. An all-out blow-up that staff are still whispering about. The breaking point wasn't some petty squabble. It was a meltdown so explosive that security reportedly had to step in. Depending on who's telling the story, Steven accused Molly of selling him out, while Molly fired right back, saying he was the one undercutting her. Producers scrambled behind the scenes, desperately trying to scrub Slack messages and keep the higher-ups from catching wind. But this wasn't a spat you laugh off and smooth over with a handshake. This was a nuclear detonation. The only thing left was damage control. And that fallout, it landed squarely on ESPN's executives. Suddenly there were warm statements everywhere, polished press lines about Molly pursuing new opportunities and personal growth. Burke Magnus, ESPN's president of content, even went on record calling her an integral part of the network since 2006. It was all very polite, very corporate, very nothing to see here. But anyone who's been around this game knows when the suits swear there's no shoe left to drop, you'd better brace yourself.
The other thing I thought, Steve, was when you pay Stephen A. Smith $20 million, that means, okay, well, whoever his co-host is, they're going to want an exorbitant amount of money. And so she may have been making $2.5, $3 million as the host. Well, when Stephen A is sitting there making 20, well, maybe now she wants to make 10. And maybe ESPN will, we'll pay you 5, Molly.
The timing made it impossible to ignore. Molly's goodbye was trending 1 minute, and the next, Malika Andrews pops up with a fat new contract extension. Fans weren't buying the coincidence. To them, it looked like ESPN had played a slick game of chess, quietly swapping queens while hoping the audience wouldn't notice the board flipping. Then came Steven's cryptic act on air. He put on his sad colleague face, saying, "To say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement." But almost in the same breath, he hit fans with a wall of secrecy. The details, quite frankly, are none of your business. And it's not as if I know all the details. That landed like the sound of glass shattering behind a locked door. He doubled down. That story is for her to tell. Do I have an idea? Of course. Am I going to share it? No. Translation? Whatever happened here was nasty enough to stay buried. Naturally, the internet went into detective mode. Every smirk, side-eye, and awkward exchange between Molly and Steven got replayed frame by frame like it was evidence in a courtroom. One viral clip showed Steven poking fun at Molly's eating habits during a commercial break. Was it just a throwaway joke or a personal dig that hinted at bad blood? Either way, backlash exploded. Fans called it disrespectful, some even labeling it proof that their feud had been simmering for years. And then, like pouring gasoline on the fire, Stephen A's ex started dropping receipts. She claimed Molly wasn't just stirring up drama on her own. She was allegedly teaming up with ESPN managers who had their own grudges against Steven's rise to dominance. That's not petty beef. That's an office Cold War. Add in whispers that Molly's contract demands had skyrocketed, sparking a tug of war over paychecks and airtime, and suddenly the whole thing looked less like a resignation and more like a power struggle gone nuclear. Behind the slick studio lights and those TV-perfect smiles, insiders were whispering about something